smells like caramel from the cake last night.
Well, it's great to meet you. I'm looking forward to getting into the album.
Yes, me
So,
too. Thanks so much for having me.
yeah, absolutely. So, this is your debut, and I'm curious. Before we get into the album, I want to know. 6 years ago, this pandemic was changing all of our lives, especially for musicians.
Yeah.
How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you approach things today?
Wow. That's an amazing first question. I have so much to say.
Yeah.
So in 2020, I was a senior in college and I was taking absolutely horrible care of myself, as we all do during that time in our lives. And when COVID hit, I kind of like I moved back to my mom's house and I had a little bit of a breakthrough on like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing with my life now that the world is shut down. I'm super anxious. I just don't know what to do next. Why don't I start taking better care of myself and my voice and hone back in on my singing craft? I had been singing and performing all throughout like high school and college. Like I was in plays in college, all that. But with the world being shut down, I was like, I don't know what's next. So I'm gonna sit back and retrain myself these skills, and just kind of see what happens. And I really just like hunkered myself down and started, um, yeah, just like I went on YouTube and I looked up like different ways to train my vocals, and because I was losing my voice all the time, like having like vocal damage and all that. And so I really just took this intentional time to work on proper technique um and just rest my voice more too. And then I started getting back into um yeah, retraining myself how to play guitar more properly and just practicing a lot more and sitting with my thoughts more and writing stuff down, and songs just kind of started popping up. And um yeah, I feel like if it weren't for that time, I wouldn't have necessarily taken a step back and really honed in on my craft in the way that was necessary for me to move forward. And in doing so, I was able to move forward and realize, oh, I can do this as a career. Like I think I have it in me. I can do this. Um, I also got super into yoga as well, which like saved my mental health, honestly. I um yeah, I started practicing yoga like every day, just looking up like YouTube classes. And then I actually got my yoga 200-hour yoga certification to teach as well, through a family friend. And that absolutely changed my life. And I feel like yoga has gone hand in hand with my creativity and singing and writing and all of that. I think it's all kind of encompassed into this world of like finding oneness with myself and the world around me, and being in tune with myself and flow, even if it doesn't always feel comfortable, just like kind of trusting the process of being with myself. And yeah, so I feel like all of that time, the pandemic, being kind of uprooted from what was the norm, forced me to really look inward more. And I'm grateful for that time in a lot of ways. It was obviously traumatizing for everyone,
Yeah.
but I'm framing it in the most positive way I
Yeah.
can.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
And I think it was a big reset for a lot of people.
right,
And I'm surprised. Like I thought that all the liquor stores, well, I mean, all the toilet paper was gone, but I thought all the liquor stores would be empty, and it wasn't. Like there was just, I think there was more people out there that really took advantage of looking at their lives because it really was a reset moment for all of us. Like, what are you going to do? Okay, we're at this global impasse. What's your decision from this point on? And I was interviewing a lot of musicians at the time, and a lot of people in big cities were wondering what younger players were going to do. Were they going to
right.
keep staying in college and getting into a genre like jazz that's already not guaranteed and flush with money? And how is all that going to pan out? And it looks like there's more than anybody expected. The scene is vibrant, things are happening.
Right. Yeah. And then like yeah, it's so interesting. It was such a reset for yeah, for musicians who are already kind of out and about. And I was just kind of starting off. Um, and I think I think some positive elements it did bring was um, people got resourceful with the internet and like live streaming performances and whatnot, and kind of like expanding their audience on the internet. And I think like obviously there's lots of pros and cons to that, but I think in that moment that was super helpful for a lot of people in like maintaining their sense of purpose with performing. And I was live streaming a lot on like different platforms, and would find random fans through that, and it was kind of a something to look forward to um for myself and some of my loved ones too who tuned in consistently. And it also kind of kept me like it held me accountable to like keep practicing and not just let it all go. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you, the debut album, Tonight My Dreams, it's coming out. It's a big deal because I mean it's your shout out into the music world. Talk to me a little bit about what your vision for this project was. What were you going for? How does it feel?
Yeah. So I had released a couple EPs before and like a bunch of singles before, um, kind of just randomly throughout since 2020. But this project um, is nothing like it's something different from anything I've ever created before. I had started writing some of the songs on the project a few years ago, and didn't. I just didn't finish them up until a year ago. And I'd written other songs since then, like since I had started these songs on the album and released them as singles. But there were a few select songs, the ones on the album that I had started a few years ago that just I couldn't complete for whatever reason. And then about a year ago, my friend Tristan and I, who's like my main co-collaborator on this album, he played guitar on it and he co-wrote it with me and co-produced it with me. Um, he helped me finish some of these songs. And then we started writing some new ones. And we're like, huh, what if we created a whole album out of these songs and just like created a story, and strung the songs together to tell a cohesive story that kind of highlights the human condition and like what everyone can relate to. And so we did that. And it was really interesting to see how all of these songs just kind of fell into place in an intentional order. And we got some friends out here in LA to play with us on the album. We recorded it all live, and it was a really, really special, remarkable spiritual experience, honestly, to get us all in the studio together. And I tend to sing better or perform better when I'm backed by a live band rather than like pre-produced tracks.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was a really powerful moment for all of us. And Tristan had known about this like legendary producer named Jim Scott, who produced Tom Petty's Wildflower album, and um, a bunch of Red Hot Chili Pepper stuff, and Tedeschi Trucks Band, just to name a few. Like he's
Sure.
been around. He's an amazing guy. And Tristan and I just kind of cold emailed him like, oh, why the hell not? Whatever. Like, what's the worst that could happen? And he was willing to work with us. And so we went to his studio and he showed us around, and we were just absolutely floored. It felt like a time machine, just walking back into the 70s.
Yeah.
And there was just, you could just feel the history and all the equipment in his space and like everything in analog. And um, he really, I can tell he's very intentional about the projects he creates and wanting them to sound um, to kind of have this timeless sound to it. And I think that's exactly the sound we were going for with the songs we recorded. Um, and Tristan's friend George, um, they grew up together. He is a genius with arranging music, and he wrote all these arrangements for every song on the track. And we got some friends out here and some mutual friends out here who played the horns, and we got them to join us on the day in the studio. And yeah, it was just a really, a really transformative experience being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are you hoping the listener gets from this album?
Um, I am hoping that the listeners can relate to elements in each song in their own way and can feel less alone and can feel uplifted too. Um, I think there's a couple songs in there that are a lot more lighthearted, which I think the world needs right now. And you know, not everything has to be so serious all the time. Obviously, like things, there's a time and a place for emotional depth and intensity and shadow stuff, but I think sometimes just the bouncy, lighthearted, fun-loving energy is just what we need on certain days. And I hope listeners can take that also from the album,
Yeah,
while also being being inspired to reflect on some of their shadow parts of themselves and just know that that they're not alone and that we all face these dilemmas as humans you know um, and they include the album touches on themes of like lust and crushing and love and anxiety and heartache and heartbreak and hopefulness and growth and just kind of all the things and how they all kind of yeah, they all kind of just make up what we all kind of have to experience throughout life and it's very universal. So
yeah,
that's what I aimed for.
for sure. So, how did this life of being a singer and songwriter, how did it begin? How did it start?
Yeah, so I've like I've truly been singing like since I was born. I've just been I've been singing around I started singing around the house at like 2 years old and it just kind of went from there and throughout like elementary school, middle school, high school, I did all the like a cappella stuff, all the play stuff, all the musical stuff. I was in a couple bands and I just knew it was something I had to do. I didn't know for sure that I wanted to pursue it as a career. Um, but then in 2020, it just kind of came to me and I was provided with this opportunity to work with some producers in New York through a family connection. And that's kind of when this idea emerged of like, oh, I can make this my life too. Like I'm capable of this. I have so much to say, and sometimes I feel like singing comes easier to me than speaking, in terms of communicating certain nuanced subjects and ideas and feelings. And I've always loved just being on stage. The high I get from being on stage and the sense of confidence, um, and just like oneness that I feel when I'm on stage is like no other. And I know that's kind of what I'm meant to be doing. And yeah, I started writing songs when I was like maybe, I think I wrote my first song when I was like 7. And then I just every now and then would write a song, never really like did anything with it. And then um in in high school, that's when I first kind of started recording stuff on my own, like my own original stuff. I would record covers and put them on SoundCloud, but I started really recording my original stuff in like late high school with a friend of mine, um, who went to Berkeley for engineering, and his name's Ben Fox, and he's out in LA as well. He does like film scoring stuff. But anyways, he helped me record and produce my first acoustic. Um, it was the first music I ever released, and it was all acoustic, and kind of just like told a story of where I was in like as a teenager and someone in like their early 20s, and then um, yeah, and then I kind of like went on to working with other producers that I met remotely because then it was the pandemic um and then I met the producers that I met in New York as well. I continued to work with them in person and remotely and yeah, and then it just kind of took off and since being in LA, I moved to LA 2 years ago and since being here, I've just been so much more inspired every day. I'm just immersed in this creative community of people who people who are hungry for it, and it makes me hungry for it. And so, um, yeah, it's been a really, really interesting journey.
Yeah. So what was the first live show you saw, jazz or otherwise, that blew you away and maybe laid the groundwork for the way that you approach the stage?
Ooh, the first live show that I've ever like gone to,
Yeah.
or the first concert I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Well, the first concert I've ever been to was in, I believe it was like 2007. I went to, or maybe 2006. I saw um it was Miley Cyrus and the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, I lost my voice. I was literally like screaming the entire time, singing along to everything the entire time. And I just felt like, oh my gosh, I want to be up there someday. I need to be up there someday.
Yeah.
And um, yeah. Like, yeah, I feel like that day will forever stick with me. And then in school, I just couldn't get enough of the stage. I was always looking forward to the next audition, the next performance. And yeah, it funny enough, in college I didn't actually study music. I studied psychology,
Yeah.
but I always just kind of did music on the side. I just didn't have a desire to study it because I felt like that almost personally, I think that it's super important to study music,
Mhm.
but I didn't feel called to do so because it almost kind of for me, it took away a sense of enjoyment. I don't know. I kind of wanted to keep those two worlds separate.
Sure.
Um, yeah, but I will say that every performance I go to um, inspires me more and more.
Yeah.
It gets me out of my head and out of any procrastination mindset that I sometimes fall into at occasionally. And it gets me to think, okay, no, like I can do this too. Like, oh, that's a great perspective. That's a cool way of going about it. I love the way this artist interacts with the audience. I love the way this artist is unapologetic on stage, and I feel like going to shows is just as important as performing in them because it gets you in that headspace um of showing the audience what you can give and like showing up authentically, whatever that means for you. So yeah.
Yeah. So what do you like the best about actually let me ask you this first. You have this dream of being a professional musician, of pursuing this
Mhm.
career, and you have this idea of what it might be like, and then you actually live it now. What's the difference between the dream and the reality of living this life that you look forward to?
I think the dream is I always thought that there would be a moment where I made it and then can relax and like I feel accomplished and everything's like there's like a sigh of relief almost.
Yeah.
And that sigh of relief comes from like some kind of external situation, but the reality of it is that like yeah, I haven't yet met these milestones and goals that I have in mind, and like I'm growing every month. I feel like I'm progressing in some kind of way and there's so much more work to be done, and I kind of feel like I'm always going to have that mindset of like what more can be done? How can I optimize? But also how can I intentionally rest and like bask in the completion of a project.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's that sigh of relief can only come internally. It can't really come from an external accomplishment, in my opinion, because for a lot of artists at least, because I feel like we all kind of have this idea of like, okay, on to the next. What can I do more of? Like, how can I grow in this way, or how can I show more of myself in this way? And in a way, it's just like that hunger kind of, I don't want to say it never ends, but I think the growth just continues. And I think it's beautiful and it's challenging. And I think through that, like I said, it's really important to know when to take a step back and like take a moment to rest and just kind of recharge and reflect on everything that you've accomplished thus far.
So what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up every day? What motivates you? Why do you love it?
Um, I would say performing,
Yeah.
honestly, performing and and being able to connect with people or like speak to people through my music and have people feel heard and understood through my music
So let me ask you this.
and
Yeah.
inspired through my music too.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
let me ask you a more jazz-centric question about concerts. If you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see
Mm.
one show, where are you going to go?
Ooh.
Who are you going to see? It's a lot.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough
There's
one.
a whole lot. Well, I mean, if you need to, you need to add a couple of things to the itinerary, you can, but it's just
Right.
in general, where would you go?
Well, I would love to see Billie Holiday, Etta James, and Frank Sinatra. I would love to see all three of them live. Like, the way they perform, I mean, the unique quality of all of their voices and the choices they make is just iconic. There's a reason that their voices just will continue to live on. Um, I feel like hearing their songs as a young kid really got me to fall in love with jazz and blues and soul and yeah, and just being able to see them in person would just be such a gift.
Yeah.
Because I can only obviously their voices are just and their songs are just impeccable, but being able to see them in person, like I can only imagine the energy that they radiate in the
Yeah.
room,
Yeah.
So that would be really, really cool.
So why do you love this art form we call jazz?
'Cause jazz is a conversation. It's like an infinite conversation
Yeah.
between the musicians, but also between the singer and the audience. Um, Jazz illustrates the nuances of emotions and thoughts and relationships and um, there's just so many shapes and sizes and colors to jazz that, in my opinion, other music genres don't capture as much.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just, and it's just so warming. Jazz is so warming and accessible.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans, everyone on the bandstand, everyone that knows you,
Mm.
but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think that I'm fun-loving and really open and accepting of most people. Um, and I really would say that I see the best in people as a person and as an artist. Um, and I see the beauty. I can see the beauty in everything around me. And also the beauty isn't always a good thing. It can, or not good or bad, but I see the beauty and the darkness in a lot of things around me. And I think that's a big inspiring factor into my art and the way I live my life. And yeah,
Right on. So if anybody wants to catch you live, pick up the album, any of the good business, where do they go?
yeah, go to beccahannahmusic.com. And you can also find me at Becca Hannah on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, all the streaming platforms. And you can find my Instagram at underscore Becca Hannah underscore because someone else has the Becca Hannah domain.
Okay. All right. I got it. Cool. I will put all these links in the show notes. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking a minute out.
Thank you, Joe. It was so nice to meet you. I really appreciate your time. This has been lovely.
Yes, absolutely.
Neon Jazz.